What's up, guys? It is your boy, Samoan Fan 101, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to get any reviews up yesterday. It was kind of a slow day for me. I just wanted to chill. And believe it or not, I actually did try to get my review of Captain America, the First Avenger up last night, but my webcam was being a complete dickhole. So about 5 to 8 minutes into the video, it canceled out on me. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. It was like 9:30 or so at night, and I didn't want to make another chance of however long this video would be. So I just said, fuck it, wait till the next day. And it's 9 in the morning. So a good 12 hours later, we're trying again. Okay, so this is my review of Captain America, the First Avenger. This movie was released back in July of 2011. It had a budget of around $400 to $216.7 million. The reason why I say that is because this film, we don't exactly know what the budget is. It's kind of a somewhere in between number. The box office ended up being $370 million, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but might actually be the lowest income an MCU film has ever done. Which is sad because Captain America the First Avenger ranks among the best of the MCU films and is the top 2 of Phase 1, the other one being Iron Man. Even though I do very much like the Avengers, Iron Man and Captain America both share the quote-unquote top spot in a way during the Phase 1 edition of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, what's the story? Well, we, skipping the kind of beginning intro, just for the sake of clarity, we start off back at World War II time, in 1942, a guy by the name of Johann Schmidt, who's portrayed in this movie by Hugo Weaving, he breaks into, I'm guessing it was like a church or a chapel or something, and he steals a cube of power that he calls the Tesseract, and of course kills people nearby. And we see later through the film that, along with his partner, Dr. Arnim Zola, played in this film by Toby Jones, Toby Jones's character, Arnim Zola, is able to create weapons designed around the use of the Tesseract, as well as being used for other things like, bits of technology and everything. They're part of a splinter, not a splinter cell, but like a group belonging originally to Nazi Germany called Hydra, which is basically the science division for the Nazis. So that's how that goes on there. Meanwhile, back in New York City, a man by the name of Steve Rogers, played in this film by Chris Evans, the great, in terms of great acting, maybe not the greatest person, but in terms of a great actor, played wonderfully by Chris Evans, is rejected for the 5th time to join the military for World War II because the guy, he just has so many health issues. He's small, he's skinny, he has health problems, he's not that physically fit at all, even for his size. He's the complete antithesis of the trademark jock. That has big muscles, he constantly gets bullied around, he gets beaten up a lot, and his only true friend is Bucky Barnes, James Barnes, who played in this film by Sebastian Stan. Now, after a conversation between the two, in which Steve explains his reasons and his passion for joining the war, he comes across Dr. Abraham Erskine, played in this film by Stanley Tucci. And Erskine is able to allow Rogers to enlist into the Strategic Scientific Reserve branch of the military, and the purpose of this part of the military is for the super soldier experiment. Under Dr. Erskine, who created the super soldier serum, Colonel Chester Phillips, who was played in this film by Tommy Lee Jones, and Agent Peggy Carter, played in this film by Haley Atwell, and damn is she gorgeous. Oh, I want to tap that. Well, moving on from that. And apparently Steve Rogers, somewhat against the wishes of Colonel Phillips, chooses Steve Rogers as the first person to undergo the experiment of the super soldier serum. And the night before the procedure, Erskine talks to Rogers and tells him that Johann Schmidt also took an imperfect super soldier serum, so basically an incomplete version, and because of that, he had some permanent side effects that basically scarred him. Then you had the next day, Steve Rogers, who's a skinny little man, goes into for the procedure, and after procedure, which is being headed also by a young Howard Stark, who of course is Tony Stark's father in this film, and because of that, they are able, because of his genius, Erskine's formulas and everything, and of course the funding behind it, they're able to transform young little skinny kid Steve Rogers basically into a super soldier, and he's he gets bigger, he gets jacked, he's taller now. Basically, Chris Evans' actual size compared to the skinny Chris Evans. However, before anything could really amount afterward, a German spy for Hydra kills Dr. Erskine and steals a vial of the formula for the super soldier. Steve Rogers, using his now enhanced body as a super soldier, tracks him down. The Hydra member kills him, and the last vial of super soldier serum is lost in the process. So yeah, after that, because the military did not wanted an army of super soldiers and only got one, certain parts of government want to use him basically as an advertising tool to sell bonds. He's got the old ridiculous Captain America outfit, from the comics, and I'll get to that in a bit. But when he he does very well when it comes to regular American crowds, but when it comes to the U.S. military, he gets absolutely no respect. And that pretty much sucks for him. When he hears that the 107th Infantry Unit, which his friend Bucky Barnes was a part of, was either captured or killed, Steve Rogers takes it upon himself in his silly Captain America outfit, thankfully covering it with regular war and leather pants and a jacket, and even his the shield that they made for him, which of course is based off the design of the original Captain Marvel shield, not the round one. It's kind of like the triangular almost kind of shield. Yeah, he's using that one. And he's able to save Bucky, save a lot of men, and comes across Johann Schmidt, who takes off basically his human face mask and reveals his scars when he took the incomplete super soldier serum, in which gave him a red face, and he was from then on called the Red Skull. They escape, and as both sides escape an exploding base, and they are able to, how shall we put it, they're able to return to the U.S. military base, and from then on, the Howling Commandos become a thing. Steve Rogers leads the Howling Commandos. He now has his trademark shield, round shield made of vibranium, which is the strongest metal on the planet. And slowly but surely over time are able to take down each of the Hydra's bases. And this, of course, leads into a mission on a train in order to capture Arnim Zola, in which Bucky Barnes supposedly dies in the process. And thanks to capturing Zola, and keep in mind, every single Hydra agent they've tried to capture and imprison have taken like a little, like a pill in their mouth or whatever, and I'm already losing my train of thought. Oh yeah, and they basically they kill themselves through cyanide. Zola does not do that because he wants to live, and he tells Colonel Phillips and the others his plan. And of course, the plan, which of course is destroy most of the population, many of the major threats in the world, and using a giant ship called the Valkyrie. Steve Rogers, thanks to the remaining members of the Howling Commandos, as well as the U.S. military, like Colonel Phillips, and even Peggy Carter, who they share one kiss with. Well, Rogers and Carter share a kiss. And Rogers goes on there. He fights the Red Skull. During the ensuing battle, the Tesseract gets malfunctions, and up until this point, the Red Skull, while he laid eyes on it and stuff, he never physically touched the Tesseract. He always had another device. He touched the Tesseract, and again, supposedly also killing Red Skull, because he pretty much disappeared soon afterward. So, and of course, which leads us to the ending of the film, and well, part of the ending at least, which Steve Rogers, in an ultimate act of sacrifice, dumps the ship basically into the ice and water where it sinks, and Steve Rogers, for the next nearly 70 years, was never found and was encased in a block of ice. Now, of course, in the beginning of the film, we saw a group of people who found the ship and find the frozen body of Captain America in the ship, and in the end of the film, the last scene, we see Steve Rogers waking up in a World War, or should I say, a 1940 style hospital room because of a radio a football game on the radio that's off. Well, that's off, but it's off-putting to him because of the date. Steve Rogers escapes and finds out that he is nearly 70 years in the future of his original time. Whoo boy! By the way, the post-credit scene I shouldn't even bother with you saying that, telling you what it is, because it's a scene that's ripped straight out of the Avenger. So basically, a miniature, condensed version of a scene that's already in the Avengers. Sorry about that. Okay, so much like with Thor and Iron Man, there's not a whole lot to talk about because, again, everything is just on point. This is an absolutely fantastic film. Chris Evans does an absolutely marvelous job. Yeah, I know, marvelous, duh. But he does absolutely a fantastic job as Steve Rogers, Captain America. Everyone in this film does great. Tommy Lee Jones, Haley Atwell, Toby Jones, Hugo Weaving, Sebastian Stan. Every single one of them is great. Even the Howling Commandos, and as well as Dominic Cooper, who plays a young Howard Stark. They're all pretty good in this film. The special effects are very well done. My favorite special effect, of course, in the whole movie is seeing a young, skinny Steve Rogers compared to the Chris Evans we know today, being big and jacked. The funny thing is that they actually shot some of those scenes 3 times. Once with Chris Evans using his head, the other with a body double using, well, his body. And even then, they had to scale down his body with CG. But they did try to, but it did help. And sometimes a third, I don't know what's wrong with me. Sometimes a third shot just to kind of get you an idea of what the shot's supposed to be like. So yeah, that's my favorite effect of the movie. Small, skinny Steve Rogers. They made it look so convincing to me. Still looks convincing. Like I said, the special effects are great. The way the Tesseract looks is absolutely great, especially how, with the exception of the very end of the film, we only see the Tesseract glowing light blue. We don't see any sort of texture, which was an interesting choice, to say the least. Um, everyone did great. Let's see here. Special effects. Oh yeah, right. I forgot to mention. I wanted to say this till the end. Now I remember it again. This movie was directed by Joe Johnston. If you're wondering who's Joe Johnston, he's directed some movies over the year. He directed the Jumanji film. He directed Jurassic Park 3, which is a bad film. So yeah, it's a little bit of black mark on his record. But he also, 20 years before this, in 1991, he created a movie called The Rocketeer, also based off a comic book, has a superhero in it as well, and that also took place during the 1940s, during World War II, against Nazi Germany. Sorry about that. And he really, I don't know what it is about Joe Johnston, but he really captures the look of what it's like to be in the 1940s. That I thought was brilliant. The fact that they got him, someone who has experience with what the 40s look like, knows what the 40s should look like, at least, at different times. And, yeah, it's just incredible how everything looks exactly like it should look in 1942. Of course, you got minor things like, wardrobe. But even they got, for the most part, with some differences, they even got the wardrobe right, which is great. So, yeah, everything worked. Well, I can't say everything. I do have a couple small minor things that I got to get off my chest. 3 things. First of all, I really wish we would have got more of the Howling Commandos. I understand why we didn't. Captain America is the main character of the film. You should be focusing on him more than anything. But the thing is, though, is that is that unlike in Thor, because the one thing Thor did better, and one of the things Thor did better, even though it's not as great as a film, one of the things it did better than Captain America: The First Avenger was we had several scenes with Lady Sif and the Warriors 3, so we can kind of get an idea of what their personality is like. In this film, you have maybe 1 or 2 scenes of them talking and having their own little personalities and stuff, but for the most part, they're kind of background noise, which I was saddened by, because the Howling Commandos, from what little I saw of them, were quite entertaining, and there were plenty of Howling Commandos members. There just wasn't enough focus on them. That doesn't need too much focus. There's a couple more scenes with them to get an idea of what their personality is like. Very much similar to Wonder Woman and the few supporting characters in that film that was helping out Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman Diana Prince. Anyway, so I wish we would have got more of the Howling Commandos. They kind of seemed almost like they were there just to be there. 2 other things. One, and this has to do with the ending of the film. Steve Rogers has to pull the ship down into the water. Here's my question: why not just after he pulls the ship down into the water, into the ice? Because the ship is shown earlier to have several mini ships meant for combat and war, of course. When he pulls down the Valkyrie, why doesn't he just get on one of the little ships and escape? He could have easily have done that. Maybe he didn't think of it at the time, but I always thought that was kind of lame. The fact that I was like, ooh, that could have been fixed up just a little bit. Huh. I don't know why I'm yawning. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's because I need water. The third thing has to do with the other part of the ending, which is, of course, when Steve Rogers wakes up. Now, the scene for the most part is handled very well up until the very end of the opening, of the ending credits. But here's my gripe, and I noticed this. I'm like, this isn't like back in the day when they had no internet. This is modern day S.H.I.E.L.D. Modern day S.H.I.E.L.D. And in order to keep his Steve Rogers' suspicion out of the way, in fact, and try to make things easier for him, he woke up in a 1940 style hospital room that was built in, so that way, he can feel kind of at home, like, okay, this is the 40s. Now with thinking of Star Wars. Now, here's the thing. He notices that there's something wrong because the radio, the old school radio, is playing a game from what he said was May 1941. Steve Rogers crashed into the ice in 1945. And we're supposed to buy that S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know this? Especially since it was revealed later that Howard Stark, Colonel Phillips, and Peggy Carter founded S.H.I.E.L.D. together. Really? Really, bitch? Really? You couldn't figure out... 1941! He was still skinny-ass Steve Rogers in 1941. He wasn't Super Soldier Steve. He was Skinny Steve. My God. Really? Is S.H.I.E.L.D. really that dumb? That I thought was completely stupid. Maybe there's a couple minor things, but for the most part, this is a great film. If I had to choose which one was better between Iron Man and Captain America, I would probably say Iron Man. Shine in the window. I'd probably say Iron Man, but again, that, of course, I might have to look at the movie one more time. But if I had to choose right now, I'd say Iron Man was a better film. Captain America is just a shade below it. It has those little things that just keep it back. But it's still a very fantastic film. Great film. Go check it out. I give this film, Captain America, the First Avenger, a 9 out of 10. So, guys, until next time, I'll see you later today when I review the first Avengers. That's right, 2012's The Avengers. I will review later today. Until next time, guys, peace.